Hey everybody, let's talk about how we would measure the volume of a cylinder using our metric units here. So this is the most complicated formula that we're going to be using in my class for calculating stuff like this, but it's really not that bad if you walk through it. So let's write it out over here. So volume equals pi, and remember I told you before that pi we can just say is 3.14. If you have the pi button on your calculator, you can use that, or you can just put in 3.14. So 3.14 times radius squared. So this is a measurement that we have to take, and if you remember, I told you that we would measure all the way across. So radius is from the middle of the circle to the outside. But the easiest way to measure it is to measure all the way across and then just use half of that number. So this cylinder here, it's not exactly 1 centimeter, but we're going to say it's 1 just to keep the math easy on this example here. So if this is 1 centimeter all the way across, that means the radius is half of that. So half of 1, and we're going to keep it as decimals here, is 0.5. So it just gets a little bit more complicated if we start using fractions. If you do 1/2, 1 over 2, that makes our math a little bit more complicated. So it's easier to keep it in decimals. So 0.5 is the same thing as 1/2. Okay? So we've made it this far. We've got pi times radius squared. So here's 3.14 times the radius. Don't forget to square it. So we'll put our little square right there. And then we just have to multiply that by the height of the cylinder. So let's measure the height of the cylinder, and it looks like it's about 6 centimeters. So we'll put 6 right there. Okay. Oops. Now let's go ahead and plug those into the calculator. I'm going to do things one step at a time here, so I want to get that square figured out first. So here's our calculator. I'll lay it down flat so we can see it. So 0.5, remember, if we square something, it's that times itself twice, okay? So I'm going to do 0.5 times 0.5. Yes, I know there is a button on my calculator that'll do that, but not everyone's going to have a calculator that way. So 0.5 times 0.5 is 0.25. This time we're not going to round it just yet. We're going to leave it 0.25 because we're not at our final answer. And we're just carrying everything else down, okay? Now, we've got something easy that I can plug into my calculator. So let's clear it out and put that in. So again, I could use the pi button, but I'm just going to stick to 3.14 times 0.25. I could put 0.25 if I really want to, times 6 equals 4.71, and I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So rounding to one place after the decimal, so look at the next number. 4 or less, let it rest, means I'm just going to leave that at 4.7. So my volume here is 4.7. Now don't forget, we got to get our unit on there. So really, this was 1/2 centimeter. So remember where we got this measurement from was we measured all the way across the cylinder, and then we looked at just half the measurement. So we said it was 1 centimeter all the way across, so 1/2 centimeter there. So this is really 0.5 centimeters. And then this 6 was the height of the cylinder, which was 6 centimeters. So if we think about that, when we moved from here to here, we squared the centimeter. So really this was centimeters squared, and this still just stayed centimeters. And then when we multiply them together one more time, we ended up taking a centimeter squared and putting 1 more centimeter into it. So, oops, that's not an E, that's a C. Centimeters cubed this time. If that math is too complicated for you to follow, remember I gave you a cheat sheet. Anytime you're measuring volume, your units are centimeters cubed with that little 3 up there, okay? So as long as you have that correct unit labeled on there, centimeters cubed, you're good to go, all right? So like I said, I know this is the most complicated of the formulas that I have you use, just because there's squaring and then you have to measure 2 things and remember pi, but it's really not that bad. Ask me if you have questions. I think you'll get it. There you go. Good luck.